Best player of the half? Couldn't tell you. No idea.
I understand why that they were wanting to go with like players that had a passion for the club and maybe experience and tried and tested things, but it didn't really work today.
Where do we go next? We go on a good run so we can cause a cup upset away at Bristol Rovers.
I'm starting to think that Ingood Nick has been sent from the future to destroy all of us, because we have to sit here and not only watch these matches, we then have to come out and talk about them.
Lads.
Even more changes to the squad for the visit to Southampton. 4 this time. No place in the squad at all for the terrible Lowe, the promising Keane Bryan, the unrecognisable Ollie Norwood, and the Bambi on ice that is Ollie Burke. Into the squad comes the evergreen Phil Jagielka for another change to the back three. Club legend Billy Sharp up front, hopefully finish some of the chances that we were creating at West Brom. And Jacqueline Hyde, Ethan Ampadu in midfield for Norwood. As we stuck with the 3-5-2 formation that has served us well in the past. But what followed was probably the worst 45 minutes I've seen in a long time. 20% possession at times. I just didn't recognise us. We weren't trying for the ball at all, weren't creating anything. Just didn't seem bothered, all looking at each other, trying to find someone else to take responsibility. No leadership on the pitch, absolutely shocking. But on 32 minutes, we actually had a decent chance. Our only chance, in fact. Ender virtually to the touchline, cuts the ball back, crosses it for Berger, who's on pretty much on a penalty spot, tries to pass it in, goes wide, and that's about it. 2 minutes later, the inevitable happened. We were punished. Last time we had the curse of the Sheffield Wednesday fan. This time we had the curse of the former player, as Che Adams got a goal for Southampton. Free kick from Ward-Prowse, master of the free kicks in the Premier League. Jags comes out to head it, prevents Ramos from actually capturing it perhaps. Heads it out, ball comes back in again. Ampadu barely leaves the ground for a challenge. Egan tries a little bit to try and close the player off, to close Adams off pretty much on the goal line. Ramos probably can't do too much about it and he just gets bundled home for 1-0. Best player of the half? Couldn't tell you, no idea. Absolutely shocking, creates that one chance and absolutely nothing else. I suspect changes will come at half-time. McBurney, with his swan dive, injuring his shoulder, I'm guessing he's going to go off. And I just hope we make some more changes because that was terrible.
So the Blades come out in the second half with an unchanged 11, with the benefit of 15 minutes to assess Ollie McBurney's shoulder injury from his terrible Jack Grealish swan dive impression in the first half. We decide he's fit to play. And he lasts about 2 minutes before we sub David McGoldrick on. And you might be wondering why our £30 million striker, Rhian Brewster, doesn't come on and get a full 45. But instead we got two 30-plus strikers who love all they've done for the Blades, don't have a bit of pace between them, to stretch Southampton's defence, and that's what we go with. We pressed higher up the pitch second half. You got to wonder why we didn't do it in the first half. We sat back, soaked up the pressure. So we did press a bit higher up the pitch, but we never really looked like creating. I think 3 shots total for the game, none on target, really speaks a lot about how we approach the entire game. Goals in the second half, Stuart Armstrong cut inside, fires off his shot that probably would have been fairly easy for Ramsdale, but what would a relegation season be without Phil Jagielka contributing to it with some type of disastrous error, and deflects it into his own net. They bring on Nathan Redmond later on in the game. He's been on the pitch for 3 minutes. Sander Berge doesn't track him at all. He gets past him. Baldock gets over too late, and he puts it away for a comfortable 3-0 victory. Blades brought on Brewster late on for Sharp. Moose laid on for Basham. They didn't affect the game. We're not giving Brewster nearly enough game time for him to affect the game or get on the score sheet. I'm starting to think that Ingood Nick has been sent from the future to destroy all of us, because we have to sit here and not only watch these matches, we then have to come out and talk about them week in and week out and pick out what's going to happen to our beloved club. And it leaves me wondering what has happened, because it was toothless, it was weak, it was devoid of effort, it was devoid of idea, it was devoid of endeavour, and that's not a Chris Wilder Sheffield United side that we're used to. And this isn't Wilder out, but you've got to change something. You have to change something. It's got to be formation. It's got to be strikers. Whatever it is, attack the game. We have 1 point. 1 point from 11 matches. And it's not really anymore about how far away we are from safety. It's about getting in a rhythm of actually putting points on the board, of scoring goals, of being that attack-minded side we know we can be. Because I'll tell you, we can't do these videos week in, week out, saying the same old stuff. Something has to change at Bramall Lane. It's not the manager, but it's the players. Something has to change.
Player ratings for Sheffield United versus Southampton. Going to give Aaron Ramsdale a 5. He made some very crucial saves to stop it going 4-5, maybe even 6-0. Only mistake he made really was the first goal, coming out for the cross, didn't commit himself, and we ended up conceding, of course. George Baldock, 3. Couple of times where he went forward, he looked alright, but he just wasn't the same George Baldock that we've seen in the last couple of games, getting forward, creating chances. Made a couple of good last-ditch tackles, but not enough for me. Chris Basham, a 4, was actually probably our biggest attacking threat in the whole game. In the second half, he was going forward, he was overlapping. Good link up on the right side with Baldock, but again, just not good enough. Going to give John Egan a 3. Again, couple of good tackles at last ditch to stop a Danny Ings, but their overall play as a defence today just wasn't good enough at all. Phil Jagielka, 3. Sold Ramsdale short for a couple of passes that he had to come out and kick. Obviously for their first goal, it was his header that dropped to Bednarak, who shouldered the ball into Shea Adams, who slotted it home at the front post. Ender Stevens, 3. Was quite excited to see Stevens back in the squad. Hopefully he could pick back up some form. Didn't seem it at all. He was booked on the 28th minute for a handball, which was caused by himself, messing around with the ball. Walcott caught him, and the only thing he could do was handle the ball and get booked for it. Sander Berger, I'm going to give a 2. Not good enough at all. He had our biggest chance in the first half, which he scuffed and it went wide. Just wasn't the same as he has been. Not travelling with the ball enough. Passes were just loose. Just not Sander Berger at all. John Fleck, again, I'm going to give a 2. But just wasn't the same. We didn't see him at all in the first half. I think I maybe saw him do 2 passes. Maybe touch the ball 3 or 4 times. Just wasn't getting involved enough. And again, not the same player. Ethan Ampadu, I'm going to give a 2 as well. For their first goal, he gave an absolutely shocking challenge for that header. You need to be going into that challenge strong, trying to win the ball. He hardly even jumped, and it was easy for Bednarak to get that assist. Ollie McBurney, 3. Again, it was the same stuff with McBurney as it always is. He puts himself around a little bit, tries to win headers, but he was playing the majority of the first half with one shoulder, which he obviously struggled with, and he was subbed off former Goldrick on 48. Then we go to Billy Sharp. I'd give a 3. Again, didn't see him involved enough. He hardly touched the ball. He was chasing a couple of things down, but he's just not fast enough. So on to the substitutes now. I gave McGoldrick a 4. He came on and looked direct. You know, he was chasing things down. He wanted to get us forward, trying to move us, but again, he was one of the situations where he was caught in possession a couple of times, just too slow on the ball. I gave Ryan Brewster a 3. He came on again, looked direct, tried to get in behind straight away. A couple of nice touches. I think that substitution was left too late. I think he should be starting. And finally, I gave Lys Mousset a 2. Subbed on for Basham in the 70th, who I said before was probably our biggest attacking threat going forward. He came on, he put himself about a little bit. Couple of heavy touches that lost in the ball, but we weren't going to create anything going forward anyway.
So there's definitely more negatives than positives today from today's game, unfortunately. I'll start with the lineup itself. We talk about all these changes, yet we put 4 changes in one game. And I don't think that was ever going to work today, sadly. I understand why, that they were wanting to go with like players that, you know, had a passion for the club and maybe experience and tried and tested things, but it didn't really work today. The strikers, that partnership doesn't work very well. We've seen that on a number of occasions. It just does not work. So I'm not really sure why we went with that when pace would have worked better in this game. The midfield, I can't even say how many touches they got of the ball, to be honest with you. They were just very passive. When they did get the ball, they pretty much lost it straight away. Ampadu was non-existent. Burge didn't really do much. Fleck tried a little bit, but again, he gave the ball away way too cheaply. First goal we conceded, I don't know what happened. It was an absolute mess from start to finish. The free kick wasn't even any good. Ramsdale was coming for it. Jags headed it out, and then Ampadu with an absolute pathetic attempt to try and head the ball in the first place. And then Egan made a mistake. Ramsdale maybe could have done better. He could have come for it when it bounced first, but I think when it got to the position where Adams had a shot, I don't think there was much chance. The side just looked very disjointed. It was like they'd never played together. Second goal, again, was pretty poor to concede. It wasn't the same as the first, but Armstrong was left alone on the edge of the box, which they'd done lots of times in the first half, so I don't know why we kept on letting it happen, even though it was a bit unlucky that it got a deflection. The two corners, I think it was in the second half. I don't know what we were doing. Less said about them, the better. Yeah, it was probably the worst performance I've seen in a long time. Like, really, really long time. Yeah, it's just a bit... Don't really know what we're meant to do at the minute. Positives, there's still support for the manager, and again, there's no one else I'd rather to take us forward in this position, even if we do go down. First 10 minutes of the second half, we did look better pressing, better attacking. You know, we need to do that, more of that, definitely, because that's how we're going to get anywhere. I know it's not a mega positive, but at least their third goal wasn't a absolute defensive mess like a lot of the goals we've conceded this season. It was actually okay. Decent strike. So I don't have many complaints with that. And I guess the other positive is that we still do have a chance to get out of this mess. It's only 6-7 points, you know, that's a couple of wins. We've just got to find that touch and get that first win.
Where do we go next? We go on a good run so we can cause a cup upset away at Bristol Rovers. That's how it's looking at the moment, Blades. Oh dear. It's stick or twist time, isn't it? Do we invest in wages, break the wage structure to get the players that we need in January to go and try and survive? Or do we just plan for next season? Do we plan for the Championship now? How many points do we need by the end of the year to make that decision? Realistically, 3 or 4 wins and we're still only 12, 13 points. It's not going to be good enough, I don't think. Oh dear. It's hard. It's tough. It's deflating. It's becoming a joke. It's becoming laughable. Today's performance was horrendous. The selection was horrendous. I honestly do not know where we go from here. A win, we're still bottom of the league. We just need something, a spark. There's got to be some pace injected into the team. My question is, do we bring back Reece Norrington-Davies? Do we give him exposure to Premier League in what is a struggling side? Or do we keep him out at Luton until the end of the season, which is looking like it's going to happen, and give him experience of that league? Who knows? We've signed Ryan Brewster. We haven't given him the chance. We haven't given him the opportunity. People cried out for Billy Sharp to start. He started. He didn't have one chance. Nobody created it. There's no pace. Phil Jagielka, an absolute legend, but in 2003. We're now in 2020. Where do we go? We keep Wilder. 100% we keep Wilder. But things have got to change. Things have got to pick up soon. I think Chris is safe. Like I said, Manchester United on Thursday. We may as well write that one off, but who knows? You never know. That's about all I've got to say this week, guys. I'm sorry I cannot be more upbeat. Here's hoping come Thursday night I can. But I really, really don't think I will be. To the Championship. Merry Christmas, one and all.
Look at that ping from Norwood. Makes other teams look no good. We've got a team full of leaders. Alan Hill, Chris Wilder taught us. Yeah, there was us on the tour bus. Look how many goals Billy scored us. It's beautiful downtown Bromley Lane. We are the boys from Shore.